Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our show, Shine Your Light, the Leadership and Emotional Intelligence series. For those of you who are watching us for the first time, this is a space for all leaders out there who are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or perhaps like they're not in their element. So, this show provides a space for you where you will feel cared for and you will be given the tools and resources that you need to become the leaders that you've always aspired to be. Now, today's episode is around trusting in yourself. Trusting in yourself and actually knowing how this is going to support you in your path to success and your journey to success in life. And to discuss this with us, we have David Fung. David is a director at Salesforce, and he was so curious about coaching that he became a coach himself. So, welcome, Dave, to this episode today and to our conversation.
Oh, thanks, Nadine, for having me today.
So David, you're a director in Salesforce, and people would say, okay, what does a director in Salesforce have to do with coaching? So, what brought you
Mhm.
along this journey? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, and hello, everyone. Look, when it comes to leadership, there's so many ways you can think about it. There is the traditional, 9 to 5. I'm here, I'm the boss, and I'm going to tell you what to do, and that's the traditional hierarchical leadership. But I think over the last decade or so, what we've seen is a transformation in how we think about leadership, and all for the better. And the newer generation is really thinking about us as leaders in a much different way, challenging us in different ways. And one of those ways of being a better leader is how you coach. And in my coaching journey, I thought I knew what coaching was, Nadine. I really knew nothing. And that's part of our talk today, right? Is trusting the signals, trusting yourself, trusting what you see and what you hear, and trusting that is going to lead you in the way you want to go. So that's a
Wow.
little bit about me, but I work in the tech sector. So, some might call me a tech bro, but I've been in the tech sector for over 20 years, and, a good chunk of that as a leader.
Yeah, that's great. So you said trusting in yourself and trusting in those signals. You mentioned the signals. How has this helped you in your life? I mean, how did it shape you as a leader or as a person?
Yeah. When I think about trusting yourself, like here's what I hear a lot from folks that I coach, as well as folks who have reported to me and have asked me for mentorship as well, is I want to get to X, and I don't know if I'm doing all the right things. And
Mm.
sometimes, actually not sometimes, most of the time in life, you know your destination, where you're trying to go, but you don't know exactly how to get there, and your path might be different. So the metaphor I like to use is, and it's I think it's a Zen story where there was a master and his disciple, and the master was pointing his finger at the moon, and the disciple looked at the finger, and the master smacked him over the head and said, "Don't look at the finger. Look at where the finger is pointed to." Now,
Mm.
how you get from the finger to the moon, everyone's going to take a different path. And you got to trust that no matter what, you still have the finger pointing to the moon. And that's what I mean by trusting yourself. There's so many paths, so many things, but as long as your North Star or your moon, you're looking towards that, just trust yourself that that's the way you're
Wow.
going to go. So that's what I mean. And there's, when I look at my own story, and, before we came online, I gave some thought as to some of the significant things, some of the signals in my past, looking
Yeah.
back, which makes sense
Yeah.
now. But at the time, I had no idea that was going to lead me to leadership. So I love to talk about some of that today with you.
Yeah, we will. We will unpack that, of course. Now, I just want to really focus on one thing that you said, and I really loved it, that there are many paths. And I guess it depends on each person and what their priorities are, what their strengths are. We're different. I mean, you might take that path, and I might take this path. And I love that you're highlighting that because I know that many people in our audience would think that there's only one way of doing things and there's
Mhm.
a right
Yeah.
way. So I love what you're
Mm,
saying, because I want people to really notice that there is no right way. There is no one way only. There are many ways, and each one of us will land on one of them that looks like us, that is authentic to us,
hmm.
and that really feels right for us. So if we are trusting those signals and those signs, then we'll land on the right journey that is for us, the right one for us,
Yes.
but it's not right or wrong. So I like how you said that. So tell us a bit about your signals.
Yeah. And if I could just give you another metaphor, I love metaphors. I love stories. Like
Yeah.
there's a number of years ago, my buddy, we were going to go to from my house to another destination, to a restaurant, and we're driving separate cars. So we're driving there. He drove, I drove. Now, anyone who knows me knows I am terrible with directions. Like if you spun me around 360 right now, Nadine, I wouldn't be able to get out of my chair and find the right way to the bathroom. So that's how bad I am with directions. So he got there, and and I'm taking this meandering path, going through different neighborhoods and thinking I know my way. I didn't check a GPS. I didn't do any of that. But what happened because of that is that along in that journey to that restaurant, because of the meandering path, I saw things that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. I saw some, nice neighborhoods, some houses, and people. And one of the things that occurred to me as I was going there was, I think I might want to live in this area one day. One of these
Wow.
neighborhoods I stumbled into, and that just got inserted to my mind. So, 15 hours later, I eventually arrived to the restaurant. Okay, it wasn't 15 hours, but I was probably 15 minutes late. And he says, "What were you doing?" I go, "I took the scenic route." But that little seed saying, one day I might live in this neighborhood that I stumbled into, well, eventually I did.
Oh, wow.
So you just never know. You just never know how that meandering journey and what it will bring you and what you will learn along the way. So
Wow.
those are some of the signals where, you know what, I'm lost. It's okay. It actually benefited me at some point in the future.
Wow. I love that. That's an amazing example. How, we never know how things are going to turn up for us and what are the things that are going to help us in certain times of our life. But you know what it makes me feel? It just gets me to think, okay, if I'm there or if anyone else from the audience is in that situation, it's kind of scary, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? Like you mentioned the
Yeah.
word lost, and it does describe what we feel when we're not yet on the path where we think is the right path. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate that fear?
It So to say you aren't scared at any point is lying, right? Everyone is scared. And the cliche saying that, courage is not a lack of fear, it's doing what you have to do despite the fear. And that's what courage is. And what what I find is helpful is that, the stories we tell ourselves, you could either you can, as you're going on a path and you don't know your way, you have, really, I need to keep things simple. Two choices. I could look at it as, things really suck. I'm lost. I'm never going to find my home. Nothing's going to ever happen. This is terrible. The worst thing possible. But one of the things that we are able, and every single human is able to do, is train ourselves. We can train ourselves to do anything. If we can train ourselves to look at our phones all the time, to check social media, we can train ourselves to do good things too. And one of the things we can train ourselves to do is look at, what's the opportunity here? Good, I'm lost. What's the opportunity here? Good, I took the scenic route. What else can I see? So just saying that word, oh, cool, good. What what's possible now? And it's amazing when you apply that. Now, does that get rid of you being scared? No. It doesn't mean you're never scared. It means that you have a mindset like, I am scared, but I'm going to look for the opportunity here. And you got to keep your eyes open, right? You got to keep your eyes open and your nose is smelling the roses along the way, so that that opportunity doesn't pass you by, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, fear, it's okay. but how are you thinking about your situation? Is it opportunity or self-pity? Your choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because it ties into coaching, actually. It's simply
Mm-hmm.
changing your perspective on something. So
Mm-hmm.
when your perspective is, I'm lost, oh my God, I'm not going to find my way, blah blah blah, the fear, this will enhance the fear, and you having that fear is going to limit you being able to see or spot that opportunity. And I
Yeah.
love how you shifted that. You created some excitement there. You didn't annul the fear. Okay, yeah, it's there, it's going to be there, but it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I like the cool. This is cool.
Yeah.
What's the opportunity out there? So
Yeah.
you're shifting into some excitement, some, oh wow, there could be something new here, there
Yeah.
could be something. Yeah.
Yeah, and this applies to a lot to life too. And there, I'm not an academic, so I won't be able to quote the studies, but I have seen, quotes of studies and talking about studies where, like, let's just say you're about to endure something very, very strenuous. Let's
Hmm.
say you're attending a boot camp exercise class for an hour, and it's really tough. One of the things that works and is shown to work is, as a participant, is just say, first of all, right at the beginning, just say, this is going to suck. Acknowledging this is going to suck. And then the second thing is, while you are hurting, smile. Like, have you ever thought about doing that, Nadine, during a workout class where everything's hurting, you're looking at the clock, just smile and say, this really sucks, and just smile. There's something about that, embracing the pain, embracing the fear that's coming at you, and just saying, it's cool, all right, it sucks, yes, I acknowledge it, and I'm smiling because of it. But you come out the other end feeling energized, you come out the other end seeing things more clearly. And I think there's again, and there's a connection there to how you use your brain now, right? And in tackling other challenges in life.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So while you were talking, I was imagining myself in spinning class because that's where I use a lot of self-talk before.
Yep. Yep.
So I hate spinning class.
What's the
And
self-talk you use? What do you
it's
say to
the self.
yourself?
But before I say anything to myself, I try to discover what is it that's making me so uncomfortable and, not wanting to go through this experience. And you know what? It's self-doubt. For me, my mind
Mm,
is telling me, you can't do this. You're not going to survive. This is too tough. And because she goes really high in terms of the intensity.
yeah.
And once I even got like tachycardia later on. So
Oh,
all of this starts
wow.
coming. Yeah, you can't do that. It's too tough for you. You won't be able to survive. So my self-talk is, after I acknowledge, as you said, that okay, I'm scared of failing here. I'm scared of not being able to do it.
Mhm.
Then I start giving myself, no, you can do this. You've done it before. You survived it before. You can do this. Come on, you can. So I give myself positive reinforcement, and
Yeah.
it works. It
Yeah.
works because it
Yeah.
gets me focused, and I start, noticing how I'm getting better and better and better, and that motivates me. That small achievement, it motivates me to continue the class, and then there I am. The class is over, and whew, yeah, I feel so good and so
Yep.
achieved. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do get what you're saying.
You know what's most humbling, Nadine? If you ever done one of those hot yoga classes where they pump up the temperature to like 40 something Celsius, or for American
Yeah,
friends listening, 110 Fahrenheit,
yeah,
um, is that the person suffering the least is the 70-year-old, little old lady, or man right in the front doing a handstand on one hand. And meanwhile, I'm in the back, younger guy, I'm just dying. That's the most humbling experience. And in that case, I say, I'm not enough, actually, and it's okay.
yeah, yeah,
I'll be able to do that one day. But that's very humbling when you see someone, like you wouldn't expect to be able to endure a class like that. And in fact, those are some of the folks who thrive because they got used to the pain, they got
yeah,
used to the fear, right? And they just kept on showing up every day.
yeah. I love that. Great message. Amazing message. So, you know what, David? We're going to take a very a brief break, and then we'll be
Okay.
right back to continue this discussion.
All right.
So, you've been watching the Shine Your Light, our leadership and emotional intelligence series. I'm your host, Nadine Zeinoun, and you are watching us live on the Bold Brave TV network.
A probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and tune in.
So, welcome back, everyone. You're watching the Shine Your Light, and you are watching us live on the Bold Brave TV network. So, we were just talking about David's journey and how, beating the fear is really important, and not neglecting it because we know it's going to be around, but just finding a way to actually keep yourself going. And David gave us some really nice examples there. So, David, you mentioned something around leadership. So you said that leadership has changed in the last decade. So it's more challenging for us as leaders to keep up with all the changes. Now, I want to ask you, like, in your life, were you the same leader throughout, or did you develop? Like, did you change your leadership style as you grew up or matured? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. No, thanks, Nadine. And like, it's still changing as we speak. And, but one of the things I want to stress to folks, and I'll tell you a couple stories here is recognize where your strengths are. And sometimes looking back, you can recognize some of those key moments. So why did I get into leadership, and how did I know I was ready? Let's go back to, chapter 1, where I first, where I truly, I was a teacher before. And when I mean a teacher, like I did in grad school, I was teaching. I taught college for a couple semesters early in my career as well. And one of the things I was really good at early on, and when I say early on, I mean like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I realized I was great at teaching. So one of the things I wanted to be able to do as a child was I had 2 younger sisters. I needed a buddy to play catch, to play catch with. And I was really good. And I found like, how do I teach my younger sisters, who are much younger than me, how to throw a ball? Now, if I asked you right now, Nadine, can you describe the full mechanics on how to throw a ball? It's actually more complicated than you think, right? Like the foot placement, the arm placement. But when you start taking a skill that many of us might take for granted, and then you break it down to the basic components, I had a knack for taking seemingly simple, but also complex things and breaking it down to the basic 1 or 2 movements, teaching 1 or 2 things at a time, and being able to articulate the simplicity around it. And then this is how you do it. And I realized I was really good at that, taking complex things and making it simple. And that's a leadership concept, because there is so much ambiguity. There are so many things that, it's really complex, like when you're running a business now, the decisions you have to make are a combination of internal factors, but also the response to more macroeconomics and macro factors that are happening. You need to put all that together and simplify it for your people so that they understand not just the what, but the why behind a decision, as well as what's in it for them. So that's one thing to recognize. When I also think about like another chapter of my life where it was significant, it was, building humility. So one of the stories I like to talk about is about a little more than a decade ago, I realized I almost died without even knowing it. So long story short, I was actually doing yoga, back to yoga. And I was in a certain position and I felt a little pop in my calf. And it was nothing at the time. But a few hours later, it became this big pain. Then it started to swell. And, like the masculine man I am, I ignored it and just put some ice on it and walked it off. Fast forward a little later, it just wouldn't go away, weeks and weeks later. And I said, it's all good. I just traveled. I did everything I had to do. And the pain wouldn't go away. I started getting swelling many weeks later, right? And this is many months later. It kept on swelling. And they thought, okay, maybe there is something else wrong. They went to scan my leg and they found a blood clot. In fact, it was a blood clot that was scarred. So that means it's been there. So, and you know how many times I flew before that? Probably like at least 5 times. Okay.
Oh my God.
So at any point in time, in those 5 times I flew in a plane, and by the way, if you have a blood clot, folks, or you suspect, go to the hospital right away. Flying is one of the worst things that can kill you if you have a blood clot. I flew 5 times. Okay.
Oh
and so God. Realizing later that I could have died 5 times and left my kids on their own and left my wife on her own. It's very humbling.
That's a scary thought.
But it makes you think. It makes you think of, how do I want to be remembered? And no one cares. And one of the things I realize is no one cares about your title. Everyone cares about how you treated them and how you made them feel. And that humility and that realization stopped me from chasing the rabbit, chasing the titles, chasing the money. I do the right things, and the money came and the titles came because of that, because I was doing the right things. And the last lesson I would just want to articulate is, there's teaching, there's the humility, but it's bringing people together. The relationships you create, and you don't need to be the most outgoing extroverted person to be a leader. Introverts can be leaders as well. I'm an extrovert introvert. Like, I am very okay being on my own, Nadine. In fact, a lot of times I hate parties. I go to parties. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But I love having conversations like this. So, but you bring people together, right? For whatever reason, for the reason of bringing people together so that they get to know each other, so that you can get to know them. And one of the things that, and I have family members say, sometimes you reveal it too much, but I am willing to give something to a stranger, something about myself, in hopes that maybe I will get something back. When I say give something, I will give something, tell them something about myself without prompting. And that 9 times out of 10 prompts a great conversation, and they're willing to offer something back. And, being able to bring people together, right, through and attacking a common goal and a common mission, that is another skill of leadership that I learned along the way. And so those are the 3 stories I just want to bring together, to you, to tell you like the knack for breaking down complex concepts, the humility about what your North Star truly should be, and bringing people together, right, is one of the key things. And these are all things that at the moment in time, I didn't know where it was going, but I did know that, with the finger pointing to the moon was, I'm not even there yet, but I've taken this meandering path so far to get to that moon. So in a nutshell, that's my story.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like perhaps that's why you started your podcast, is connecting with people. So those connections, now I understand how important it is for you to connect with people and bring people together, because you bring a lot of people together in your podcast.
Yeah, it's fun. Coachfulcoaching.com. That's my website, and there's a podcast associated with it. It's something I love. I just do it on the side. It's out of passion. I don't make a ton of money from it. Okay, I make no money from it right now, but that'll change one day. Finger pointing at the moon. I see that moon has a dollar sign on it. But in all seriousness, it's out of passion, and because of that, I met you, and here we are sitting right now, and
Yeah,
there's
having a
some
wonderful conversation and
having a
supporting
wonderful
others.
conversation. Yeah, and our podcast last time was a wonderful conversation as well, Nadine. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's these little things along the way that are just magical, and it's makes me a better leader, and hopefully we make other people a better leader.
yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. And if you haven't, followed the podcast, please do now, because really, David really interviews really nice people, and you get to know a lot of stories about people, and you get to benefit from their journeys as well. So, David, what is one, let's say, memorable thing you learned from a mentor or somebody you looked up to? So, what is something they said to you that really made an impact on you and where you are today?
So it's about the work, but it's not about the work. It's about the people.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And what I learned about that is, you go through. So for those who are listening, who might be going through school, who basically got a lot of achievements. Hey, I got a degree. I got the certificate. The work is important, right? That's the work you put in, but it's how you benefit other people along the way that really matters. And it really comes back to the legacy you want to leave. How do you want to benefit other people with all the work that you put together? For those of you who are working in a department and you feel like the work you're doing is not useful, it's useful to someone. It's helping someone. Perhaps you can seek out that person where who would benefit from it as well. And it's about the people. No matter where you are in an organization, where you are in life, you're doing something that's going to help someone. And that's one of the biggest realizations I had was it's not about the work, it's about the people.
Wow. I love that. And I think that's a great lesson for every leader out there, for every one of us, where we are in life. If we always are able to focus on the people and what meaning we're giving to people and what value we're giving to people, that makes us even enjoy what we're doing way more, because we find meaning in that too. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned legacy, David. So if I ask you, what's the legacy that you would want to leave behind?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer this question telling you how I arrived at an answer pretty quickly. I went to a number of funerals in the past few years. And one of the benefits, and seriously, one of the benefits, again, like you can look at it in both ways, right? There is the sad part that doesn't go away, but what is the opportunity and learning experience here? For all the people I met, it was never about what they did for a living. I've met, there's some people who passed away just this past year who are very high level executives as well. No one mentioned any of that. It was all about the impact this person had on others people's lives. I don't know about you. Apart from celebrities, but every funeral I've been to is all about the impact that person had on someone's life. And that's why people cry. Yeah. Not because, you're a great vice president or a great CEO. And so that's what I think about. And what I think about is quite simple, is create more leaders who are going to be wonderful people to other people. That's what I want to do for my kids. That's what I want to do for the people I work with. And if I can accomplish that and, have a ton of fun along the way, I've accomplished what I've set out to do.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so inspiring, David. Wow, really, it is so inspiring. Yeah. I love it. So create leaders and people who are going to give something to others as well. So this is cascading down all the way. I love it. Great impact on the world when you think about it.
Yeah, it's passion. It's my passion right now. And, when you're passionate about something, it's not work. It's easy.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows. I mean, your passion shows in your face. It's on your face, all over your face. It's written all over your face.
It's the lighting. I swear, it's the lighting.
So this has been really wonderful, David, this chat and all the great information and the journey and, sharing these experiences is really wonderful and amazing and very enlightening for many people out there, I'm sure. So what would you like to leave our, audience with, like maybe perhaps a few messages?
Yeah. I think, a lot of the hopefully, we were able to impart some messages today and leave a few, right? Is, think about the legacy you want to leave, and this is regardless of where you are in your life, where you are in your career, and whatever you're doing. What is the impact you want to have on people? That takes time. But when you realize what it is, that light switch just goes off and you find your purpose in life. That is one of the most wonderful things. But if you have not found that, trust in yourself that, there's a finger pointing at the moon. You could see that finger sometimes. You might not even have a clear picture of the moon, but just trust yourself that you're going in the right direction, because everything you do along the way, there's a purpose, right? And you can only connect those dots once you're looking backwards. You won't be not in the moment. But trust yourself. You know what? Maybe this is the way I'll go. This is the way it's supposed to go, and it's okay. I'm going to do my best at where I am right now, and I'll find my way. You won't know all the answers right at once. Life is not going to be interesting if you did.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much. That was really, really, really a very nice discussion. And I love the message that you just gave us in trusting ourselves and really, trusting that gut feeling that we have and we get. We all get it, but we're not always, courageous enough to actually go in that direction.
We learn to ignore it.
Yeah,
we're taught
exactly.
to ignore it, and we learn to ignore it. We learn to hear what other people say, and whether it's family, social media, strangers, society, we learn to ignore what is true to us. But when we're in those moments of silence, and I challenge people to be in moments of silence and boredom, you'll see a lot of thoughts coming at you. It could be scary to some, but you know what? Sit in that discomfort for a little bit. You'll discover a lot about yourself on all the things that you've been taught or you've taught yourself to ignore.
Wow. Lovely. Lovely. I love it. And, I love the point on silence. And I guess that's where introversion is even better than extroversion. They're more comfortable with the silence.
Yep.
So yeah, great tip, amazing tip. Thank you so much, David, for being here today. And thank you for this wonderful discussion and this beautiful conversation and all the learnings that we got from you. If somebody would like to, reach out to you to continue this conversation, how would they do that?
Yeah, my website is coachfulcoaching.com. You can find all my details there. Everything from my Instagram handle to LinkedIn, and as well as my podcast is on both Spotify as well as YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts. So it's called the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast.
Thank you, David. Thank you. We'll make sure that we follow it right now. So take action now, everyone. So thanks again for your time and for your generosity. And thank you all for being with us today. You were watching the Shine Your Light, our leadership and emotional intelligence series. I'm your host, Nadine Zeinoun, and you are watching us live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll see you next week with more and more beautiful conversations.
Nadine wants you to know that by focusing on emotional intelligence and her own personal leadership philosophy, you will discover the authentic light deep within you. Through practical tips and tools, Nadine will help you become the inspiration you want to be. Watch Nadine Thursdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV.